Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Today, our guest is the manager of the Toledo Mud Hens, Gary Jones. And Gary has been managing and coaching for over 35 years, and he's had tremendous accomplishments. He won 4 league titles as a minor league coach, and he was named Manager of the Year 5 times. And so during this conversation, he shares about his background growing up in Henderson, Texas, a lot on his coaching philosophy, and a lot of the things that he shared really were impactful. And then he talks about player development, which is what he's known for, being a good instructor and a good teacher and a good molder of players, getting them ready for the next level. And lastly, he shares on numerous occasions what really matters to him the most. Well, Coach Jones, welcome to the program. And I know we're right in the middle of a pretty intense homestand, and your days are really structured. So we really appreciate you carving some time out so we can sit down and just get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, no problem. I'm good to go.
You're in. You're good to go?
I'm good to go.
All right. So let's talk about your signature look, the toothpick.
Okay.
Tell us how, when, and why that became part of your persona.
Well, it started like years ago, like in 95 or 96 or something like that. I was a big sunflower seed eater. I kept them in my back pocket as I coached third base. But for some reason, it started making me sick. So I got allergic to them.
Okay.
And then I started trying to, do the gum thing, to chewing the gum and that kind of thing. And I would always bite my lip, bite my tongue, and, blood be everywhere else. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. And then that's how the toothpick started. So I never dipped or chewed. So the toothpick started from basically me getting allergic to sunflower seeds.
Got it. Is it always on the left side of the mouth?
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
How many toothpicks a day do you go through?
Normally 1, maybe 2.
Wow.
Yeah, it's normally just the 1.
All right, so I'm going to share a toothpick story that ties in here. It might not be your favorite memory, but it ties in, and that was when you're with the Cubs, third base coach. I think it was 2015 in July, and you got hit with a line drive. It was a bullet, and you tried to get out of the way. You lifted your arm. You got smoked in the elbow. But you got hit. You went face down.
Right.
And you didn't move.
Addison Russell, Brian Morris tossed a scoreless 6th as he continues in the 7th. Look out! Oh my goodness! That got Gary Jones, the third base coach.
And so the Cubs trainer jumps over the dugout fence. He sprints out to you. Joe Madden, the manager, comes out. You got the umpire over you. Everyone at Wrigley just goes quiet because it looked not great at that point because you were laying face down. I forget who the batter was, but he took a knee. The guy on the on deck took a knee.
Ball was absolutely nowhere for him to go.
No, it looked like his first move was into the flight path of the ball, certainly unbeknownst to Gary, and it got him on the elbow, fortunately.
So the trainer worked on you for a little bit, then he flipped you over, talked to you some more, and he eventually sat you up. And when they sat you up, the fans clapped a little bit. And then he and Madden helped you up, and they talked to you. And when they helped you up, the place erupted, right? And then the trainer went back, and then it was just you and Madden. And you stayed in the game. So after the game, at the presser, one of the reporters asked Madden, "Hey, how's Coach Jones doing?" And he said, "Oh, he's great, man. I'm really happy he wasn't hurt bad and he could stay in the game." I said, "But what impressed me was that toothpick stayed in his mouth." If you look at that video, when the trainer sat you up, the toothpick was still in place. So that's impressive.
Well, a little side story to that. The hitter was Addison Russell.
Okay.
And so, the next day he was asking me how I was. Was everything okay? I said, "I'm fine, bro." I'm fine. I said, you couldn't hit me. You couldn't even hit me hard enough to knock the toothpick out of
He
my
looked
mouth.
pretty shaken. He looked pretty shaken.
Yeah,
When
he was. But it was all good. I mean, I got my elbow up, got my arm up, hit me on the elbow here a little bit. It was a little swollen, but
because if you didn't do that, it would have hit you in the middle of the chest.
yeah, it would hit me. I mean, I was afraid it was going to hit me in like my facial area.
Yeah.
But it's one of those deals that goes with the territory, man. It's happened, and I'm not the first person it's happened to, so probably won't be the last.
Well, you popped right back up and continued on, and that toothpick stayed in. So
Yeah.
You're from Henderson, Texas, which
Right.
is the eastern part of Texas.
Right.
Not too far from Tyler,
Well,
not too far from Shreveport, Louisiana, right?
exactly.
Paint us a picture what it was like growing up in Henderson.
Well, I mean,
And you still live there.
and I
It's still
live
home
there.
base.
Yeah, my wife and I, we still live there. We raised 2 daughters there, and so born and raised there in Henderson. I mean, it's a small town, 12, 16,000 people, and one high school,
Yeah.
one junior high, and I think now they may have a private school that's there, but just being raised there in that atmosphere, in that culture, it's kind of laid back, easygoing, So I've never really been a big city person,
Right.
I'm not a big city life type guy, so I prefer the small, quiet, country towns. Everybody tells me I'm from the country, all of these guys. But I'm okay with it.
And you're used to the heat. Right now, as we're talking, you're in the homestand, it's almost 100-degree temperature, but that's nothing for you, probably.
Yeah, this is a cool day in
This
Texas,
is
man.
one day in
You know what I'm saying? This is everybody's having a hard time with it, but hey, in East Texas where I'm from right now, hey,
This is spring.
they would love to have a day this cool.
All right, in previous conversations about your background, you've mentioned 2 places, Yates Park and Whippoorwill Street.
Whippoorwill Street.
What about those 2 places were formative for you?
Well, Whippoorwill is where I grew up.
Okay.
That's the street I grew up on. I learned a lot of what I'm about and what I do now from some of the older guys that I grew up on the street with, the Terrys, the Sanders, the Millers, the Vincents, the Maddoxes, the Coopers, I mean, the Tatums. There was a lot of athletes on that street. And, I was always in the mix with them. And a lot of times, when we was out, playing basketball, baseball, football, whatever, I was playing with older guys.
Right.
And so, and to this day, some of those older guys are still, in Henderson, and I talk to them quite often. So, we talk about, that street quite a bit. It's changed quite a bit now, but we talk about it. The church I goes to is on that street. So, and I still go to the same church with some of those same guys, and we had our own little park, not necessarily a park, but it was a field where we did everything. We played baseball on the field. We played football there. We played basketball there. So whatever we wanted to do, we did it on that field. And my dad was our baseball coach growing up as we was little, and we practiced right there on that field. And Yates Park was like the park where we would go and play, Little League,
Right.
the Little League games and Pony League games and things like that. So, we would practice on Whippoorwill, but when it was time to go play the scheduled games, we would go to Yates Park.
Yeah.
And to this day, Yates Park still exists. And so, it's just fun memories to talk about.
What role did your dad have in your overall development as an athlete?
I'm gonna say quite a bit. I mean, he was the type of guy that if you didn't go out to play to win, you would hear it. So
He had some competitive fire.
yeah, my brother and I, we grew up in a baseball family basically. My dad played baseball. His brothers played baseball. My grandfathers played baseball. So we grew up, going to watch them play, on weekends and things like that. So it was just a part of, what we did. So in high school, as we grew up and got to high school, we played baseball, we played basketball, we played foot, we did it all. Ran track, we did everything. But baseball was, kind of our first love,
Right.
and that's what we did. So I kind of knew that this is kind of what the direction I wanted to take, in life, and been lucky enough where it's worked out.
Yeah. Henderson High School, you were a 4-sport athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously baseball. What position did you play basketball?
Point guard.
Point guard. So you dished it out. You ran
Dished it
the
out.
offense,
Ran the
right?
offense, yeah.
How about football? What position?
I played running back, but my senior year I played quarterback. We ran the old veer, so my senior year I moved to quarterback. And one of the things about that is my brother was a running back at the time, so
You got to hand the ball
I
to
got to
him.
hand the ball off to him as well. So, but I played quarterback my senior year. Up until that point, I'd always played running back.
Wow. And then track. What was your event?
I ran the 100.
What's your best 100 time?
Back then, it was a 100-yard dash.
100-yard dash.
So it wasn't the meters, it was a 100-yard dash.
It's all right.
So I probably somewhere around, I'm going to say 10-7, 10-8, something like that.
So that explains the base stealing
Yeah.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what did that, being a 4-sport athlete in high school, what did that do for your, I guess, confidence or character development?
Well, I think it kept a competitive spirit in me. But more importantly, I think what it did, it allowed me to understand who I was, who I am as an athlete and as a competitor. I believe that, nowadays these kids specialize in, one sport.
Yeah, one
high
sport,
school,
yeah.
type of thing. Personally, I believe that the more athletics he can play in, football, basketball, baseball, track, and you don't get guys to do that for sport thing anymore. But when you can compete and play different sports, I think it helps the other sports, because now you're learning your body, you're learning how to control your body, you're learning to use parts of your body that maybe you wouldn't normally use if you're just playing in the one sport. So I think they all tie in together, to be honest with you. So I kind of frown when I hear of kids in high school that are really, really good athletes only commit to playing football, only commit to playing basketball, or only commit to playing baseball. So I would like to see our athletes be well-rounded. And I think by being able to compete in the different sports in high school, you learn a little bit about yourself as far as, what you're capable of doing and what you're not capable of doing, how deep, how mentally prepared you can get yourself, and they're life lessons, it teaches you that, hey, it's not always going to be like you want it to be. You got to go through some adversity.
Yeah.
You showed me an athlete that hadn't went through it, adversity, and I show you an athlete that probably hadn't been very successful.
Yeah. Still in your childhood days, what teams did you cheer for, and who were your sports heroes?
Football-wise, I was a big Houston Oilers fan.
Whoa.
Earl Campbell, Dan Pastorini, those guys.
Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Those guys. So I was a big Houston Oilers fan.
Yeah.
Basketball-wise, I've always been a Lakers fan, probably because of Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
I was a big Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy.
Great teams.
I was a fan of that. And then in football, I like to tease all the guys back home who are all Dallas Cowboy fans, and I like to tell them in football. When people ask me, "Was I a Cowboy fan?" I said, "Nope." They said, "Who's your team?" I said, "Anybody that played the Cowboys."
Nice.
But really, I was a big Houston Oilers fan, and when it came to baseball, I was a Houston Astros fan.
Who'd you like on the Astros?
I mean, back then, you had. I remember going to watch Troy Cannon, Jimmy Wynn play. I remember watching Cesar Cedeno,
Right.
Enos Cabell, Jose Cruz Jr., Art Howe,
Yeah, little Nolan Ryan in there.
Nolan Ryan, J.R. Richard,
Yeah. Oh, JR.
Scott. I had all those guys. So those were some, you had Terry Poole, I think Ashby, or at Reynolds. So, I mean, I grew up on Houston Astros. That's when they played in the Astrodome.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Not a great venue for a ball game, right?
It was
all right.
at that point. It was like what, the eighth wonder of the world.
Yeah, it was.
So
yes.
I mean, at that point, it was kind of when they first built it. I think it was like the state of the art.
Right.
But then now you look back on it, that turf is probably like this is as hard as this floor here.
Right.
But they've evolved nowadays. Turf is better, and even the domes that they built are much better and nicer. But at the time, the Astrodome was like, I mean, being named eighth wonder of the world, that's saying something.
Pretty good props, yeah. All right, let's stay in Henderson, Texas.
Okay.
All right, let's stay there. The Gary Jones Field of Dreams complex. You are very accomplished. You've had a lot of accolades, but having your hometown name a sports complex in your honor, that had to be a thrill.
Yeah, I mean, it was unexpected.
And that was recent. That was within the last 6 or 8 months.
I think this was in like November.
Yeah.
This past November. So it didn't. I wasn't expecting it at all. They called me up and asked me about it, and what do you say when committee calls you, say, hey, we want to honor you in this way. So it was an honor, and the funny thing about it, I'm a pretty private guy. I try to stay under the radar, and so I was actually going to not tell anybody, just go out there for the ribbon cutting, and then that was it.
Do the Irish fade, and
but
leave.
In today's world with social media, boom, it got out, and next thing you know, there was a crowd of people from the community and stuff there to show their support. So it was nice. It was nice, yeah. Family was there, so it was nice.
What a great celebration for who you are as a ball player, coach, and person. So really happy for you and your family. All right, I'm going to make an observation about a time in your life from 18 years old to when you're 22. Okay. So you graduate from Henderson High, had a good baseball career, no scholarship offer. Your high school coach connects with the coach at Paris Junior College and gets you a walk-on.
Larry Click.
Larry Clee was your high school coach?
Larry Click was the coach at Paris Junior College, and my high school coach was, we called him Skip Templin.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, those two connected. You got a tryout. You made the team, of course, and you got on a scholarship.
Right.
Then after a while, you walked on and tried out at University of Arkansas.
Right.
Made the team, eventually on the scholarship. Right. Had a good career. Had a real solid career at Arkansas. Time for the draft. You didn't get drafted, but obviously the Cubs draft you as a free agent. So it seems like in that time frame, Coach, people underestimated you in some ways. And you always had to prove yourself. And when you given an opportunity, you did. How did that, like kind of that walk-on experience, how did that impact you as a player? And probably more importantly, how you coach and how you interact with players now? Because you had that experience at that 18 to 22-year-old.
Right.
You had to overcome some things.
Right. Well, in high school, I weighed 165, maybe 170. So I was always told I was too small. He's a good athlete. He got some quickness. He got some speed, but he's too small. So,
Who said that? Scouts?
Scouts, some college coaches. So, I was lucky enough to be able to I was just wanting the opportunity. I was just looking for an opportunity anywhere.
Right.
And, I was lucky enough to be able to go to Paris Junior College, walk on, and like you said, made the team, ended up getting a scholarship, played there 2 years. And, when my time was up there, now this is when they had the old Southwest Conference, so been years ago.
Yes.
And so, I went and visited, some of those schools, TCU and A&M and Texas. And, my dad and I drove up to Arkansas. And when I saw the field at Arkansas, it was not the stadium they have now, but it's the older field, but it was turf. And when I saw the turf, I was like, okay, I think this will be my best fit because of the turf and because I thought my game would translate to being on turf.
Right.
Speed game, that type of thing. So, I ended up walking on at Arkansas, made the team. We had a big tryout. I made the team. And
Never a doubt.
I in my mind, I didn't think it was going to be a doubt, but you still have to go out and prove
You
it.
got to prove it.
And so I ended up making the team. Ended up being a starting center fielder, and did pretty well.
Pretty well.
That year, and ended up going to play in the Shenandoah Valley League, Waynesboro, Virginia, and that's where I signed with the Cubs after the draft. A scout by the name of Gary Nichols signed me. So, and
Coach, you had 8 solid seasons in the minors, and you had some really noteworthy stats. You made a couple all-star teams. You had a 283 lifetime batting average. You had an incredible on-base percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Your walk strikeout ratio was insane, which means you really knew the strike zone. And then when you got on base, you stole bases all the time. So that's pretty significant. If you think back of those 8 years, is there a story that kind of captures your playing days? Or another way to say it is there a game or a moment that meant the most to you during those 8 years?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard to look back on. I mean, I enjoyed my time at each stop. I know Huntsville, Alabama was a good time. I had fun playing there that year, 86, I believe it was. Had fun playing in Tacoma, 87, 88. But, you look back on it, I really enjoyed my early time with the Cubs, I think, coming up in that era.
Because it was Cubs and the A's, right?
Yeah.
Organizations.
I started with the Cubs and got traded to the A's.
Yeah.
But with the Cubs, they had drafted a lot of speed at the time. And so I was just one of a few guys on those 2 or 3 teams I played with the Cubs that could run. I mean, we had a number of guys that had 30, 40 stolen bases on every team. So it was just like, hey, we get on, we going. That was just part of the DNA that the Cubs was trying to do at that particular time. So and to this day, I still have lasting friendships from some of those guys on the team. Guys like Tony Woods, Sean Dunston, Damon Farmer, Orlando Ruins, all these guys. We don't talk very much, but I consider those guys a big part of my developing to be a winner. In baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. When was the opportunity, or what led you into coaching?
Well, I think I always knew that I wanted to, manage. And, of course, my goal was always to manage in the big leagues. Of course, it's not going to happen. And I'm at ease and I'm at peace with that. But I always knew when I finished playing that I wanted to manage. And so my second year in Tacoma, in fact, after the 88 season, the manager, who was Brad Fisher at the time, called me into the office and asked me, said, hey, the organization, we're not going to bring you back, but, we're just going to go younger at the AAA level next year. So they asked me if I would be interested in staying in the organization as a manager, and it's just something I'd be interested in doing. So, that's how it started. But I mean, when they asked me, I knew I was going to do it, because I knew it was something I wanted to do, and I didn't want to start bouncing around from organization to organization.
Well, in that first opportunity, you were young. You were 29.
Yeah.
And it was what, the rookie league or the?
Yeah, the rookie league in Arizona.
I mean, you were barely older than the players.
Yeah, some of those players, I was probably 7, 8 years older than most of those guys. Maybe 10 years at that level, because those guys at that level are like 18, 20 years old. Yeah. So yeah. I started young, but I had good mentors as far as learning, taking that next step to manage. I had mentors like Keith Lipman, Brad Fisher, Carl Keel, Harvey Dorfman, Ron Plaza, all of these names. I'm sure some of the older guys, have been around and know some of these names, but none of these guys that today know any of these. Most of these guys, they don't know. But all of those guys was a big influence as far as me molded me as far as me learning how to manage not only a game but managing people as well.
Yeah.
Because part of managing is managing people,
Right.
and being open-minded as far as being able to communicate with them. 'Cause everybody's a little different.
Yeah. Let me summarize your coaching, and please fill in anything I miss here. So let's just round it up to, let's say, 35 years in coaching, maybe a little bit more. 18 years as manager in the minor leagues with the Mud Hens now. This will make it 19, correct? During those 18 years, you won 4 league championships, and you were named Manager of the Year 5 times. On the Major League Baseball side, you have roughly 17 years in with the Cubs, the A's, Padres, Red Sox, and primary first base coach, third base coach, and instructional coach. So your resume is pretty legit. What leadership principles, Coach, kind of have anchored your coaching style and has contributed to your success as a manager?
I would say in really one word or 2 words, no shortcuts. Because I believe that being detailed and being well prepared prepares you for any situation.
Right.
So my thing is, don't take shortcuts, because normally my experience tells me when you take shortcuts, it may work for a short while,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work for the long haul.
That leadership principle can be applied just about everything. Right?
Yeah. So no shortcuts. Cross all the T's, dot all the I's. Make sure you are prepared. One of my biggest things is making sure I'm prepared every day. So when I go out between the lines, the game start, that nothing surprises me.
Yeah.
And take that a step further, I have the responsibility to be prepared, because now I'm leading these young men into that day's work. So I have to make sure that I'm prepared, that I'm organized, and kind of be a leader to those guys, letting them know, hey, this is the way you go about your business to prepare on a daily basis, and let the end result be the end result. Once you are prepared, now you can go out and you can execute your game plan, and at the end of the day, it's either going to be a W or it's going to be an L.
Yeah.
But if it's not a W, if it's an L, you still can feel good about yourself knowing that you was prepared for the day. It doesn't mean, just because you're prepared and you execute, doesn't always lead to W's. Sometimes you can be prepared, you can do everything right, and it's still an L.
Right.
So that's my biggest thing, because let's face it, I cut my teeth in player development. I mean, I've been in player development most of my life. And so I'm all about getting guys better. Player development. The job is to get these guys ready for the big leagues, for the major leagues.
Right.
In this case, the Detroit Tigers. That's the job.
Right.
And so, everybody talks about, hey, we want to develop players for Detroit. We want to develop players for the major leagues. And that's fine, and then that's great. But I always like to take it a step further. Let's develop winning players for the organization.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference in developing players and developing winning players.
What's that difference? What do you see the difference?
The difference is winning players don't take shortcuts.
Got it.
Winning players are prepared every day. Winning players know how to go out and do the small things that's going to help you win ball games.
Yeah.
You show me a team that doesn't win. You show me a team that wins, and I show you most of the time a team that do a lot of the little things correct. They probably pitch well. They probably play good defense. They probably have good at bats. They probably get runners in from third base, less than 2 outs. They know how to manipulate the barrel, maybe to get a 2-out knock. Pitchers probably throw strikes. Defenders make the routine plays.
Right.
So all of those things go into winning the game. And all of those things go into developing these players. But you cannot put the cart before the horse, so to speak. Mm-hmm. You have to be prepared. You have to understand who you are as a player. You have to understand who we are as staff members. And so you have to go out and lead these young men and not worry about the wins and losses during the battle. Because you just go out and you play and you do the things the right way. Yeah. And at the end of the night, let the wins and losses take care of themselves.
Let's stay with the development part, because you're known for developing players and that you're just a really great instructor. What's the best way to give feedback to a player?
You got to gain the trust, you know, and gaining the trust is not always about, you know, how good a player they are, you know, what they can do on the field. Gaining their trust is just treating them like men and having them understand and know that, hey, you care about them as individuals. You know, you talk to them about their families, about where they're from. You know, sometimes, you know, we spend so much time with these players till, you know, hey, it's not always about baseball. You can talk about life experiences. You can talk about, hey, what do you like to do in the off season? You know, learn a little bit about their families, learn a little bit about what they like to do. But to answer your question, it's all about trust. You have to gain a player's trust,
right,
so that he trusts that you have his best interest at heart. And that's the biggest thing, gaining their trust.
What piece of advice or coaching up do you find that young prospects need to hear, just in general? And everyone's different, I get it.
Yeah. I would say I have a saying that I tell people all the time. You have to be able to handle the failure of this game in order to be successful. And what does that mean? That means, especially position players, the guys in the Hall of Fame, most of those guys, you know, successful 3 out of 10 times, or, you know, 2.5 to 3 out of 10 times. Well, I look at it the other way. I mean, they fail 7.5 times. Now, how do you handle that failure?
Right.
That's the difference, in my opinion. Can a guy handle the failure of this game and still be successful? And we've seen a lot of players that were very talented, label can't miss, and they just could not deal with the failure of not getting a hit every time. They couldn't deal with going up and saying, okay, you know, I had 4 at-bats tonight. I hit the ball hard 4 times, but I'm 0 for 4. They couldn't deal with it. So if you cannot deal with the failure of this game, it's going to be tough on you.
It's a grind. You better be able to handle it. Yeah,
it's a grind. And on the flip side, you know, we've seen guys that were not as talented as some other guys. And they go on and end up having 10, 15-year major league careers. Why? Because mentally they're able to stay in tune and they're able to handle that failure with the understanding of knowing, hey, you know, I did everything right. It just wasn't successful.
No.
It wasn't successful from a number standpoint. You can do it right. You can go 0 for 4 and be successful. You can have a good at bat and strike out.
Yeah.
But it's all about the way you go about it.
Yeah. How do you go about when there is that downside for the team and also for the player? How do you pick them back up?
I think that all plays into hand of being prepared and going about your day, you know, in a positive manner.
Yeah.
You know, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, not wearing every loss like it's the end of the day.
There'll be another game.
You got another game, because, you know, we have to understand that you can play well and lose that night.
Yeah.
You know, because personally, I sleep well at night knowing that I did everything I could that day to prepare these guys to go out and be successful. And so I pride myself into knowing that I'm prepared. I cross the T's, I dot the I's. You know, I communicate with the guys as far as, hey, this is how we want to do it. You know, and I've been lucky enough to have a few years at the major league level, so I have some experiences to draw back on to help these guys understand and know, hey, this is what it's going to take to get it to the next level, play at the next level, be successful at the next level. Yeah. And, you know, so I just try to pass that along, really.
Yeah.
And you know, you can talk to your blue in the face sometimes, kind of like talking to your kids, you know, but sometimes they don't believe it until they're actually put in that situation. Yeah. But they'll always draw back on those conversations, I believe, just like your kids. Yeah. They'll always draw back to those conversations.
Yeah. Before we talk about the Mud Hens, let's talk about the Chicago Cubs. So you were there for 3 years, and besides dodging line drives, you were part of the 2016 championship team. Mm-hmm. What about that championship season do you value the most?
The group, you know, that core, that group. I mean, the staff, the coaching staff, the players. I mean, you look at that team and you saw it coming, you know, with that grace. But that year it was almost like no matter what adversity those guys went through, they were going to find a way to get it done. You know, I mean, you got leaders like Anthony Rizzo, you know, Ben Zobrist, Dexter Fowler, Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, Javi Baez. I mean, Addison Russell was on the team, you know, and then Jason Haywood. You know, so John Lester, Lackey, Kyle Hendricks.
Strong cast.
Went out and got Chapman, had Rondon, Stroke. I mean, I know I'm missing David Rawls, Montero, Wilson Contreras. I mean, it was a strong group, and there was a lot of different personalities with that group.
Yeah.
So I think that it was just, you know, a group that grew together. They cared about one another. They had fun together, and they just went out and played their tails off. I mean, it was literally an honor to be a part of that group.
What'd you learn from Madden?
Probably thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, he had
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because you know, Madden Joe, you know, he would come to me and give me a couple of situations that might happen in the game that night. And I would be like, okay. And sure enough, you know, it may not happen that night, but it might happen a couple of other nights. You know, just a quick story. He told me, we had a hitter, I'm not going to call his name. We had a hitter that, you know, hit a lot of ground balls. Right. And so Joe had given me the heads up, hey, if we have the bases loaded and one out, don't be surprised if I give you the hit and run with this guy. Okay.
Bases loaded.
Like a 3-1 count. He was like, hey, I'm going to put the guys in motion. I was like, okay, because this guy put the ball in play. His hand-eye coordination was really good. He would put the ball in play, but a lot of times he would chase a little bit, and the ball would be on the ground, and he'd end up a play. So sure enough, we get in the game a couple of nights later, and that situation comes up, and the guy's up to the plate. I'm like, oh, boy, here we go. And luckily, you know, we ended up not having to put it on because something happened. But, you know, Joe was a guy that he did think outside the box a little bit. And then, you know, it got me to thinking, even with the years I already had in the game, it got me to thinking a little bit about situations and some of the things you can do. And, you know, and the play that really stood out to me that he probably taught me. I mean, I knew about the play, but he probably taught me about the safety squeeze, especially with runners at first and third, about that play. And we practiced it, and you know, it was a play that, if you execute it right, it's really undefendable.
It's undefendable.
Yeah,
right.
You know,
right.
You're going to score a run if you execute it.
Right.
yeah.
So, Coach, you were named the Mud Hens coach at the end of 2021 for the 2022 season. Unfortunately, there's a death on AJ Hens' staff, and he calls you to the Tigers, and you spend 4 years as the first base coach there and also instructional coach. After that, well, just let's go to that present day. 2 months ago, let's just say would it be accurate to say you were semi-retired? Is that accurate?
My daughter says I was practicing retirement.
Okay, that's a good term. I like that. So you get a call from the Tigers saying, "Hey, we got to make a change. We want you in Toledo." What was your initial reaction to that?
I couldn't believe it. I was at ease and I was at peace with what I had done in the game, how my career had gone, and so in my mind I was done. My daughter said I was practicing retirement, but I was actually retired.
Right.
I was in that mentality, and so when they called me, Ryan Garco called and Jonesy, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm in my backyard cleaning fish right now.
Just got back from fishing.
Yeah, he was like, you at home? I was like, yeah. He said, well, I might have something for you, and that's how it started. And I mean, it caught me off guard totally, and
it went quick though.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. It went quick. I got a couple of days later, I got back with him, told him I would do it, and here I am.
And so, starting in spring training with the team is one thing, but joining the team once the season started, there's some challenges with that. So when you arrived here less than 2 months ago, what was your focus?
Well, my focus was not coming in like, I'm like taking over.
Right.
Luckily, I mean, this here in Toledo, great staff. When you start talking about the staff that's here in Toledo, I mean, I have a lot of respect for these guys. Probably one of the best staffs I've ever worked with in my career. With Bachler and Hessman and then Frankie and Jimmy. The medical staff with Thirst and Alex and Field and you go on. I mean, I'm calling names and I'm probably missing somebody, but these guys helped me get acclimated because, like you said, I wasn't in spring training. I was basically wasn't even thinking about baseball. I hadn't watched a baseball game at all, and I had kept up with the Tigers just because I knew a lot of the guys. But when I got here, these guys welcomed me and had a quick meeting with the group, with the players, and I went in and they all had toothpicks in, and that kind of thing.
They all had toothpicks.
I think Bachler and his coaches.
I wish I would have thought of that.
Kind of put them up to it, and but this staff has been outstanding. The toughest part for me was playing catch up. Missing spring training, getting here. Now everybody's in full swing, and I'm not even close to there yet. So it took me probably 8 to 12 days to kind of feel like myself as far as, how I like to go about it, preparation, the organization, being, planning the day and all that kind of stuff. So it took me probably close to 2 weeks to get that, feel like I was caught up and feel like, okay, I feel like myself. I'm back on track now.
Yeah. And you have a long-term connection with Detroit Tigers manager AJ Hens. You coached him when you were at Edmonton, right? Late 90s. And first of all, having a former player ask you to coach, like that had to be quite a thrill too, just for him to ask you to join him with the Tigers for 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, AJ and I, he came to Edmonton, and then when he went to the big leagues, I was on the staff with Oakland on that staff. And, we kind of went out. He went on to do other things, in baseball, managed Arizona. He was on the front office with Arizona, that kind of thing. And then we kind of reconnected in San Diego a little bit. When he came over to San Diego, I was in the front office, and we talked a little bit. I don't know if you remember. We had a conversation one day, and, we just talked. And, I always had a lot of respect for AJ. And when I came over here to be able to, was going to come here, in 21, 22, he caught me off guard when he called me and asked me to come be on the staff. I mean, unfortunate, what
situation,
happened, that situation. But, I got a lot of respect for AJ. He goes about it the right way. And so, yeah.
And I imagine that it's helpful for you now managing the Mud Hens that you know what Coach Hinch expects and how he manages. So that's probably helpful in their player development and also just managing game day.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, just knowing his mentality sometimes as far as how he wants players to go about things, knowing how he kind of runs a game, knowing what his expectations are from, players when they get to that level. He loves players that are versatile. So I think, that's a huge, one of his huge things is, being versatile.
Yeah.
And so I think being part of his staff the last 4 years has helped, me understand what he's kind of looking for out of these guys at the next level.
What's your impression of the city of Toledo and the fans here in Toledo and Fifth Third Field?
Well, first of all, it's a great stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, nice stadium, good atmosphere, great place to come to work every day.
Yeah.
And, the city, I haven't seen a whole lot of it, but from what I've seen, it's kind of down to earth, laid back, and, it's not like everybody's in a hurry.
Yeah.
It's kind of, which is kind of, I like it, because I'm not a big
coming from Henderson, right?
I like that part of it. Downtown here is quiet, especially during the week. Get a few more people on the weekend. But the adjustment has been good. Everyone has been great. The staff here at the stadium is outstanding. The staff at the hotel is outstanding. So it's been a positive experience.
Yeah. A couple more questions for you, Coach, because I know you have to get ready for the game. Looking back, who was the person or people that believed in Gary Jones before anyone else did?
Well, I think the person that believed in me was me.
Yeah.
I believed in me.
Good.
So I think that in itself, because it don't matter what anybody else think. It matters what you as an individual think. I had a player the other day ask me, what did I think about his swing, his new swing? I said, what do you think about it? He said, I like it. I said, well, that's all that matters. So to answer your question, it's me.
Yeah, it's awesome. When you connect with former players or coaches you've shared a dugout with, what part of that conversation is most meaningful to you?
Probably when I get a player that out of the blue calls me up and just start talking, and then he'll say, Jonesy, I didn't appreciate it back then, but I appreciate it now. When you get that conversation, it lets you know it was all worth it. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
Yeah.
Seems like we should end on family. Is there anything you want to share about your family? You feel comfortable? I know you're a private guy. So.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, without the family, I wouldn't be in this, in this situation, My wife and I been married since 1982. And, we got two girls that are doing their thing. One of the young ladies, Tiffany, is in Houston, and Taryn's in the Dallas area. So, my wife still works at her job at home at East Texas Telephone Co-op. And, during off season, I go back to Texas, go back to Henderson, Texas. And that's where I am. I'm just kind of laid back, and I'm out every day, on my little property. I got a few cattle that, on property with some property. I love the
cattle.
Fish. I love to fish and hunt. Yes,
any other wildlife or any?
No, just cattle.
Just cattle.
Yeah, just, I love to hunt and fish. So, hunt fish on my property. So, yeah, just, people ask me all the time, you gonna stay in Henderson? I'm like, yeah, not going anywhere. My wife and I both were raised in Henderson. And I've been knowing her since like second grade. We're high school sweethearts. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, I can tell this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for being so genuine and open. And if I'm ever in Henderson, Texas, I'm going to stop at the Gary Jones Field of Dreams because you're very deserving of all the accolades. But something like that, your hometown recognizing your impact beyond baseball is really significant. And we're thrilled to have you here in Toledo. And we wish you all the best as you skipper the Mud Hens for the rest of the season. And at some point, come back and talk to us, okay?
All right, bro. Appreciate it, man. That was good.